Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Genuine Chit Chat, the podcast. We're going to help you grow through what you go through. Today, I'm here with Kit, who is a dating coach for women over 25 years old, which majority of you listening probably are. So I'm sure all of you are going to love listening to all of this advice he's got. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so Kit, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Jen.
It's nice to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
Do you want to speak about how you actually got into becoming a dating coach and the reasons why and
for
what
sure.
your daily role kind of is?
So I've always had male and female friends come to me for dating advice. They always felt my advice really helped. I'm not afraid to say what I believe is true, but I've always had a genuine kind of curiosity and observation about, why we as human beings do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started putting it out on YouTube for fun, like advice videos, and then I started gaining a lot of traction, and then people started messaging me saying, hey, your content, your advice really helped. Can you help me through the situation? Fast forward 4 years now, I have a team, I have 20 plus active clients who I'm coaching right now. Had a few of the women who I've been mentoring over the past several months find really great guys, really solid relationships, really establishing that commitment and stuff, which is the main thing today. It's I love what I do in that sense, and it's always great to see people make progress, because I think finding a genuine relationship is a lot harder today. So I guess that's kind of part of why I kind of stepped into it, because I think ultimately, this sounds very cringe, but I think we're spiritual beings having a physical experience, and connection is what is a big part of our fulfillment. So I think the more of us that are connected, then the happier we all will be.
And that's good as well, because you must, seeing those connections that you're sort of helping people to create, that must make you feel so good as well when you can see like the outcome of how you've helped someone.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, it's kind of like, it's because a lot of the time, if we don't, the universe is never wrong, right? So if we don't have something, it's because we haven't either grown in certain areas, or we haven't moved in a way that's attracting that thing to us. Like the universe is never wrong, right? So it's when you start especially when I see my clients growing in themselves, or, especially developing their own confidence, starting to have an understanding, especially of like men, how they move, understanding how to get what you want from him. And then they just, they have full agency, and then they go, oh, wow, I didn't realize I was able to, have this and attract this for myself. And then you're in the position to decide whether you want it or not. Yeah,
because I think that is like the main issue. I was going to ask you that, like, a lot of us just don't really know what we're doing. And it's like we have to keep trying and then failing and trying and failing. And that's just like life in itself. You do so many things, end up failing. That's a life lesson. But it's like we want to get to that point where you don't have to go through so many things so many times. You just have the right knowledge in front of you to actually learn it, which I guess is why it's worked so many times for your clients, because you're giving them that knowledge. And what would you say like the main issue for women over 25 is with dating, and why it potentially doesn't always work out?
Yeah, great question. So 2 things come to mind. The first thing is, and this is for women in general, recognize the difference between sexual attention and romantic intention. I think a lot of women think, oh, well, if a guy would be physically intimate with me, that means he's open to a relationship, and that's not even close to being true. So there's a difference between, him just giving you attention because he's trying to be intimate with you, but then, are you going out for lunch and having walks? Does he actually listen to what you say? Are you actually having a level of mental and emotional connection as well as the physical? But because of, how society and culture is, this hookup culture, everything, everyone seems like disposable lovers. There's such our culture has conditioned us to be amazing but very disposable temporary partners. So in that sense, a lot of it is, I also think it doesn't help that I think a lot of modern narrative has encouraged women to date how men do. And that's why they're not getting the results, because they're putting the physical intimacy first, and then not prioritizing other things and thinking it's going to come from that, and it doesn't come from that, because while men and women, we are more similar than different, but our differences are really highlighted in our relationships with one another.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
That makes sense, because the way you said it's sort of not going right because women are dating the way men usually are. Because I think they are so different. If a woman gives like their sexual attention to a guy, when they're doing that and then they've spent a night with that guy, they spent another night, they're thinking, oh my God, I'm really liking this. He definitely likes me.
Yep.
Whereas I think, I mean, I personally don't know, but from what you're saying, it sounds like the guy does not think like that at all.
No. So men and women invest their time differently, or they invest differently. Women invest with their sexual time. Men invest with their non-sexual time. So if I give you this example, who do we think the guy is taking more seriously in this scenario? You have girl A, who he maybe spends a weekend with. They go for a walk together. Maybe they read together. But nothing maybe physical actually happens, but they spend that time together. Or the girl, he goes around her house Friday night at 10 p.m. and he leaves the following morning.
Probably girl A.
Right.
Yeah.
Because even though it weren't physical, but it's his non-sexual time.
Yeah.
That's the real investment, right? The emotional time. Now, if we switch it, which guy do we think this girl is actually more interested in? The guy who she spends a weekend with, maybe they go for a walk, maybe he helps her move some furniture, but like she doesn't get close to being intimate with him at all. Or the guy she goes out with on Friday night, they have a lovely night together, right? And then maybe she leaves the following morning.
The second guy.
100%. I'd say
so crazy.
I'd say the first guy was in the friend zone.
Oh, 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's about recognizing women invest with their sexual time, but men invest with their non-sexual time.
That's
So when
true.
you understand that as a woman, you go, oh, just because he's spending 3-4 nights with me in a row and we're having fun together, that's actually not him investing in me.
Wow.
That's not a yes. That's not a yes to you as a woman. It's an indulgence for him.
And when you just like describe it like that, it makes you think, how does it actually work between men and women when they do look at a relationship, a situationship, whatever you want to call it at the beginning, so differently.
Yeah.
Like, how does it actually become one?
Yeah. So men and women bond in different ways to each other. Well, first off, you know, especially if a woman's being intimate with a guy, she's having a great time and she orgasms, all of this stuff. The bonding hormone oxytocin is released in her body, right? Which is emotional bonding to that partner.
Yeah.
Men don't release oxytocin through sex. We
Oh,
release
really?
oxytocin through when we're vulnerable with you. So if we share something personal about ourselves or something that is quite exposing for us, and you as the woman provide a nurturing space for that, you accept that, you embrace that, that's when we start to fall for you.
Wow, I never knew that.
Yeah.
That actually makes me understand why it is so different. And I think when in situations like that, when that happens, say a girl's really invested in a guy, the guy takes a step back. There's the girl, and I'm speaking from personal experience, speak to all the girls like, why is this happening? I don't understand. Like, he was so into me. But I think there is no chance he's probably sat there with his boys saying the same stuff, like, at all about that situation.
No.
Like
a lot of the time, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not in female spaces, but from my close female friends, what they tell me, you go on a date with a guy, you'll say about, oh, you know, he's wearing this is what we talked about, etc. And then you get onto the juicy stuff, right? Guys go straight to the juicy stuff. They don't talk about what your goals are. They don't talk about, you know, they might talk about what you're wearing, but if that night you've been physically intimate and he's not as invested in you, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about, okay, yeah, we, you know, had fun together. This was really great, etc., etc. Do you know what I mean? So what guys and girls say in their cycles are very different.
That makes so much sense, because that's one of the questions I've got. It's like, how can you tell the difference if a guy is genuinely interested or they just see it as like a little easy one night stand fling? Like, how can you actually tell the difference?
Sure. Can you meet up with him where sex is off the table? That is the biggest telltale sign. So if you've been seeing a guy for a couple of weeks or even a couple of months, right? Can you meet up for him for lunch? Right? Like, you just meet up for lunch and then maybe you've got something in the evening, so you go separate ways, right? Or can you meet for a walk in the forest maybe, and you go for a 2-hour walk, maybe you have like a bit of, you know, like a picnic or something, and then go your separate ways. Or maybe you go to a museum or something. Can you meet up with him where sex is off the table? If he will not meet up with you where sex is off the table, he is not serious about you. If a guy is single and he's desirable, right? Which means if you fancy him, it's probably other girls too. And if he's single, I always say, always assume that he's maybe open to dating other people, because he probably is. Now, generally speaking, he may be dating 2 or 3 women, right? Or entertaining 2 or 3 women. That's just the landscape we're in today. But there's usually always one woman that he's dating seriously and with intention. and the other women are just sexual indulgence or like validation for him. So in regards to, okay, you know, when are we going to go on dates, etc., yeah, you can of course suggest, be like, hey, I saw, you know, I like, maybe there's this gallery and they've got this new exhibition. I really want to see it. Would love to go with you, and see if he says yes. You know, because the thing is, if he likes you, even if he doesn't like art or something,
Yeah,
he's gonna go, because he's like, oh, cool, I can spend time with this girl. If there's something about her that she loves, I get to know a bit about her and what she's passionate about, right? If he's just like, you know, making excuses or can't, etc., you know, fair enough. But if you notice that every time he tries to hang out with you, it's always quote unquote Netflix and chill, then you kind of know, right? Now, one thing I would say is, you know, depending on what kind of relationship you want, but obviously the kind of women that I coach, you know, they want to be in their feminine within a relationship. They want a masculine man, a guy who's a good leader, a guy they can trust, a guy who can, you know, what I call provide the frame for them to be the woman they want to be, right? So in that sense, there's a way you can invite him to pursue you. Because I think what happens is a lot of women go, oh, well, they start asking him out, they start planning everything, and they start pursuing him. And that's you stepping into your masculine, right? So then you're like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Well, you don't just sit back either, because that's very passive. But what you can do is you can invite him to ask to make the plan, right?
Right.
So, for example, instead of being like, hey, Jacob, you know, I haven't seen you for a bit, you know, this Saturday, why don't we do lunch at this place? I think it's really nice, which there's nothing wrong with that. Or instead, you could be like, you know, hey, I really want to go to Fabrizio's, you know, they've got good dessert there. Would love for you to maybe plan for us to go. I'd really appreciate that. And if he likes you, he'll be like, yeah, sure. Because you're giving him guidance on what you like.
Yeah.
So that helps the guy, because he's like, half the time guys are trying to figure out, what does she like? Does she like me, etc. So if you're going, hey, this is what I like, and this is how we can do it, and he goes, okay, yeah, let me sort that out.
Yeah, it's like you're opening the gateway for him to actually be the one to ask you rather than asking him yourself.
Exactly, and that's part of the work I do as well. Is I call it mastering the feminine approach, which is knowing how to get the guy you want to come and approach you when you're out and about. But that's a whole other thing. Yeah.
Wow. We'll get into that later in, because I want to hear a little bit about that.
Of course.
But going back to like relationships, and I think when you're sort of speaking to someone, depending on the actions or what the other person says, you'll react in different ways, and other people so if you ask for advice, people will be like, oh no, it's not that bad, don't say that. And a lot of that comes down to like different attachment styles. And can you sort of explain the different attachment styles people have and how that can sort of change the views that people have in these relationships?
Yeah, of course. So the main attachment styles, to my understanding, is you have anxious attachment style, you have avoidant, and you have secure. So to give a brief summary, anxious is where you're constantly in fear of being abandoned. So you're constantly looking out for signs that this person is not interested in you, is going to leave you. And a lot of time that comes into kind of misinterpreting, you know, maybe he's just having a weekend with his family, but you think he's distancing himself because he's going to leave. So then you start chasing for that validation, or you start accusing the person of not being integral with you or intentional with you. Avoidant is when you're only there when you think everything is peachy, but then the second problems arise, you run, right? So you either run in terms of you distance yourself from that person, or you run in a sense of you end it because you want to reject them before they can reject you, and then you just find someone else.
Yeah.
And then secure is, of course, you know, trust in the fact that, okay, I have a level of trust with this person that if they change their mind about the relationship, I know they'll tell me. So if they don't say anything, I can be secure on the fact that they're all good. And of course, when problems arise, it's about understanding, okay, this is something that we work through, because that's how we build a healthy relationship that, you know, lasts the test of time, as opposed to going, oh, this is a problem, I have to run away from the situation.
So do you think it's important when you're, I mean, obviously not right at the beginning, but if you're getting quite deep into speaking to someone, do you think it's important to speak about your attachment style if you were to know what it was?
Personally, I wouldn't, because everybody should be working towards becoming secure. So if you're anxious and you go, hey, I'm just letting you know that I'm an anxious attachment style, sometimes people can be using that as an excuse to do things that aren't helpful for the
Yeah.
relationship. But it's like, oh, but I told them I was anxious so that you should be able to accept it. It's like, no, that doesn't mean that I have to accept anything that's not helpful, right? So everybody should be working towards becoming secure. There's nothing wrong with communicating, being like, oh, sometimes I feel a bit anxious. So I may ask for a little bit of reassurance at times, and that's okay. And if they care,
then they can give it to you.
then, you know, I don't see why they wouldn't be like, sure, if you need a bit of reassurance, just tell me, you know, in the moment.
And if they don't, they're the wrong person then.
Well, yeah, I think if they don't, you know, if you communicate, yeah, I need some reassurance, and they're like, you know, why should I do that, etc., then it's more reflection on, okay, how committed are they to making this work and to building a relationship?
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes, look, everybody has triggers, right? Everybody has their own triggers, their own trauma, or, you know, things that trigger them. And it's not about getting to a place where nothing triggers you. That's impossible. Every human being has a trigger. But it's about getting to a place where you can handle yourself when you are triggered, that it doesn't impact your relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because ultimately that's the work that we're here to do.
Yeah.
You know,
because you don't want those triggers to then affect it, when you could learn to control them, which would make the whole end of the scenario that comes out of that completely different.
100%.
And it's weird because I feel like a lot of this relates to me, because obviously I'm 25, I'm still single, and I'm finding like this advice really helpful.
Of course.
I think I've always, when I was young, not so much younger, I feel like I was sort of securely attached. And as I've got older and I've been in and out of like speaking to people, and it's just kind of always ended the same way, I think I've sort of grown to potentially be anxiously attached. But then where I'm being anxious about it and I'm starting to see like, oh, they're not interested, I then become avoidant. I'm like, okay, well then fine, I'm just gonna leave it and let them. If they really want it, they like, if he wanted to, he would, you know, that common phrase.
Yes. Yeah.
And then because I start acting avoidant, it's like I'm not acting as interested to them. So then I think they probably take a step back, and it just all ends up
exactly.
as nothing.
You kind of self-sabotage.
Yeah.
That's
literally.
how we self-sabotage, right? Yeah, for sure. I understand that. And I think a lot of it, and I think so many people, but especially so many women, have this exact same experience. And it's just because they don't know what to look for. They don't know what to look for, and they don't know how to date in a way that leads to a relationship. Because that's the main reason why a lot of women don't get commitment from the guy that they want, because they don't know how to date in a way that leads to that commitment. Because they've just been told to date how men do, and that's not working for them.
That's so true. So what is this sort of like, if like you've worked with clients before and you said there's that feminine approach where they can get into dating correctly and end up with that long-term relationship that they want.
Yeah.
What sort of advice do you give there, and like what tips would you give to?
Sure. So obviously it's dependent on the person where they're at, but generally, so the first thing I would say is, first off, do not sleep with them on the first date.
I feel like that is a big one.
Don't sleep with them on the first date. Some guys will say, no, it doesn't matter. It matters. Of course they're going to say it doesn't matter because they get to benefit from it, right? But the way I would put it is, you know, when you go to the cinema, and you go to, you know, what was the last film you went to watch at the cinema?
The Robbie Williams one.
Oh, the Robbie Williams.
Have you seen that?
I haven't. I've heard mixed things though.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I literally
yeah.
cried 3 times. Then after
Really?
it, booked to go see him at the Emirates Stadium.
No way. Even though he's like a monkey in it and everything.
It was just,
I need to see
it's
this
so
film.
good because it's like every single song he does,
Yes.
you see where that song came from and what part of his life and why he wrote it. And I feel
that's
like it's so,
interesting.
you're like, wow, I never realised that was what it was. But yeah, honestly, it's great.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. All right. You've sold me.
Yeah, so I definitely recommend it.
I'll go watch it. So you go to the cinema to watch a new Robbie Williams film,
Yeah.
right? Now, if they put the trailers, you know how they usually have trailers for 20 minutes? If they put that at the end of the film, would anybody see them?
No,
Why not?
because you've already got what you wanted, so you'd leave.
Exactly.
Oh my God, that is...
So
wow.
when you go to the cinema,
Yeah.
when you go to an event, when you go and see an artist, that's why all the important announcements happen before the main event. So all the important announcements happen before the football match starts. All the supporting act goes on before the main act, because we are most engaged in the moments prior to getting what we want. So when you go to the cinema, they put the trailers before the film starts. Because what happens is you go, you sit down, you watch some trailers, you see a film that you like the trailer of, you're like, oh, that looks really good. I'm going to come back and watch that film
I
when it
think
comes
that every
out.
single time.
100%, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens, you reinvest, right? And then you watch your film and then you go home. You watching the film is sex. The trailers is the emotional connection. So when a girl says, we've been sleeping together and stuff, why isn't he not emotionally connected to me? It's like you saying, well, we've watched the film and we put the trailers after the film. Why isn't anyone staying?
That is such a great way of looking at it. That makes so much more sense when you see it like that.
Yeah. So now that's not saying like, okay, you know, no sex or nothing ever, obviously. But it's about creating enough space for the emotional connection to happen before the physical happens. Now, there's something that I teach my clients using sexual progression, right? So it doesn't have to be like, okay, like we don't even, you know, hold hands or anything for like 3 months and then it's all in. But that you can progress. So like maybe the first date, maybe you give him like a kiss on the cheek. Then maybe the second date, maybe you do actually kiss him properly. There's a bit of hands. Then maybe the third date, then you just progress, right? That is really effective on men. And instead of seeing his investment go down, you'll see his investment go up. Because obviously, let's just be real. When a guy takes an interest in you, it's because he's physically attracted to you, right? That's the initial driver. And so it's about understanding, okay, knowing that's the driver and using that to then establish other elements of the relationship so that when he does have sex with you and when he is physical with you, he'll actually know whether he likes you or not. Because guys don't really know whether they like a girl until they have sex with them.
Really?
Have you heard of post-nut clarity? Have you heard that?
No.
So...
I mean, I'm guessing I kind of know what it is about the sounds of it.
Yeah. So guys, there's something that guys talk about a lot.
Yeah.
Being like post-nut clarity is essentially... is after a guy's intimate with a girl, how can I put this? Okay, you know when you have like beer goggles? So you know when like, you know, if you were drunk and you went home with someone, you wake up the following morning, you're like, whoa, if I was sober, I would not have gone home with you, right?
Yeah.
So guys have what I call lust goggles.
Okay.
Where when they're really into a girl, right, and he's really attracted to her, the lust goggles are on. And then when he sleeps with her, the lust goggles come off. That's him like sobering up. And it's like, okay, do I like her? Or was I just attracted to her? If he was just attracted to her, that's where you'll see his investment go down. Because it doesn't mean he actually liked her. He just had attraction to her. So when you allow an element of space for the emotional connection to form, and you're utilizing like sexual progression, which is really effective, after he is intimate with you and the lust goggles come off, he goes, right, man, she's actually amazing.
Yeah, because there's more than just the lust itself. There's that actual emotional connections.
Exactly.
Wow, I've never seen it. I've never, like, until you've said that, I've never seen that it's so different, the way that men approach these situations.
Yeah, because so women are the gatekeepers for physical intimacy, but men are the gatekeepers for commitment.
I think that is always not a good thing, but most spoken about thing, like guys love the chase and you want to like make them chase you. And I guess that kind of where it stems from, because you can't just give it give everything to them at once, because then they do get bored and they just find someone else.
Yeah, and I kind of have an issue with guys love the chase. What they love is progression. So it's like, and this is why I say like sexual progression is really effective. It's really powerful. So for example, if I buy Super Mario, if I buy it and let's say level 10 is the highest level. If I get to level 10 on the first day, I'm probably going to return the game because I'd be like, cool, I had fun, but there's no longevity in this because I got to level 10 on the first day. Equally though, if I've had it for 2 weeks and I haven't got past level 1, I'm going to be like, either this game's too hard or it's just not for me. So I'm not going to play anymore. But if on the first, second day, I'm going, okay, level 2, see level 3, level 4, I'm getting excited and I'm investing more time in it because I want to get to level 10. That's why I got the game in the first place. And I'm seeing progression, and that's like really strong motivation. So in terms of guys loving the chase, what they love is seeing their effort being rewarded with progression. When he sees that, he's going to make more. But it's about knowing how to pace the rewards that he gets.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I also think like with what you're saying there, it's sort of similar as to, I mean, this whole conversation. I feel like women fall for guys a lot quicker than guys fall for women. And I think sometimes then women get a bit too, not complimentary, but they'll be like, oh yeah, I really like this about you, I really like that. And like, sometimes I feel like it's a bit too much for men, and that probably then scares them away. So it's like, what is that balance between rewarding them, giving them reassurance, and then not giving them too much to scare them off?
So as in what as in a woman would be being very complimentary to the guy and you think that scares him off?
Yeah, as in like not even just complimentary, but not kind of speaking about them as if they were together, or
Yes.
sort of stuff like that, without sort of freaking them out where they're thinking like, oh, I don't think we're together. Like, how do you
Yes.
find that fine line between whether you say too much or whether you hold back a bit?
So what I would say, oh, I get what you mean. Okay. So a guy hearing after like the second or third week, like a girl speaking to them or of them like they're already together, is like you being half an hour into the first date and he's already talking about you guys being intimate. It's not that you're not open to it, but like it's just a
freaks you
little
out.
bit of a put off.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, are you actually here because you like me, or are you just trying to be physical? So sometimes that can come across, if it happens too quickly. Like I've had it before where a girl that I dated, we went on like 2 or 3 dates within like a couple of weeks, and she was like, yeah, so when are we making this official? And I was like,
That is a bit intense.
and I was a bit like, she was so in love with the idea of who I was, not actually who I actually am.
Yeah.
So then it looks like you're not looking for me, you just want a guy to play that relationship part for you. Like you're not looking for me as a woman, you're just looking for a girl to have sex with.
Yeah.
So in regards to that, what I would say is, yeah, be complimentary, but be complimentary about him as opposed to talking about you guys being together. Because what I would say is if he sees a future with you, he will start to express that, but it just takes longer for him to get there than it does for you.
Yeah, because we'd release that a lot quicker than they do. And I think that's where we get stuck, where we're like, oh, they're so not as interested as I am. But just because we release all those feelings a lot sooner than they probably do,
Yeah.
we kind of have to like give time to let those feelings actually come out.
Yeah. I remember I had someone called Sukana, she's like an upcoming presenter. I think she was on Celebs Go Dating. I remember she said with an ex of hers, she was like, she knew on the first date that she would be in a relationship with him, but she didn't know if she would have sex with him. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. I'm confused. But she was like, oh, I didn't know if I wanted to have sex with him, on the first date, like there and then. But I knew that he was the kind of guy I'd be in a relationship with. For me, like as a guy, I'm like, that's crazy because a relationship is everything, right?
Yeah.
But it takes longer for a guy to know whether he would be in a relationship with a woman. The same way it takes longer for a woman to know whether she would be physically intimate with a guy. Because I promise you, every guy would have sex with, like, the girl within 5 minutes of meeting her if she was up for it.
People I know would never really just think that's the first thing they think of. Like if me or my friends have been on a date, like you said earlier, we speak about all his different attributes, all his values, like his family. Oh yeah, he's like from a family of this, blah blah blah. He does this. Like,
Yeah.
it is so true. Like we look at the situation in such different ways. Dating apps are a massive thing now. So what is your view on that? Because I think it's just, I don't know what it is, but I feel like as we've got older, like if we listen to all our parents, how they met, oh yeah, we met in a pub, like with all of our friends. I feel like it's just getting a lot harder because there's been times where I've got friends and myself included, oh yeah, it'd be nice if I could like meet someone tonight. You go out, everyone's just like herdled in their own little groups. There's like no communication. What do you think is the best way of actually finding someone?
Yeah. I would say utilize both. So if you're a woman, I'd say utilize dating apps, know how to create the kind of profile that is sexy but classy and portrays value. Because that's going to really shift a man's perception of you, because the thing is, generally speaking, guys will look at a girl and they'll make a pre-assessment of whether she's like girlfriend or wifey material or whether she's just to pursue casual fun with. And so sometimes a lot of girls can shoot themselves in the foot because she may be girlfriend material, but she's got a profile that suggests something else. So then any guy she matches with, those guys just have that perception of her. In regards to meeting people in real life, so one, guys are a lot more cautious of approaching women because of like sexual harassment awareness, #MeToo, which is important, but that makes guys very cautious because the last thing they want is for an accusation to come their way. So as a woman, you have to learn how to send choosing signals. Because the thing is, if you're an attractive woman, right, when you go into a bar, the truth is 90% of guys want to approach you.
Really?
But 88% feel they don't have the permission to.
Really?
So you sending choosing signals is you giving him the permission to pursue you. So this is an example. This is one environment that I'll teach my clients and that works. So imagine if you go to a bar, okay? Let's say you see an attractive guy, you like his look, his style, his energy, he looks great. So first thing I would say is you want to walk through his peripheral. Now, generally speaking, as a woman, generally you're more socially adept to pick up on subtle cues compared to guys. So you'll feel if his eyes are on you. And if you're with friends, ask your friend to watch him walk through his peripheral vision and see if he looks. If he looks, he finds you attractive, right? So you know he finds you attractive. Cool. Next thing you want to do is you want to establish engagement. So while you come back to your friends, make eye contact, smile at him, and actually wave at him.
Wave at him, really?
Yes. Yeah. Look, smile, and wave. Just be like, oh yeah, like, hi, I see you. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Right? Because what you're doing is, by establishing that initial connection, you're acknowledging him, he's clearly looking at you, and you've brought a friendly, welcoming demeanor that he's like, oh, okay, cool. She already seems, she seems open. She seems available. So you've established that he finds you attractive, and you sent those choosing signals. Cool. So we know that, he knows that you're available.
Yeah.
Now you want to do is you want to give him the opportunity to approach you. Because I know a lot of girls are like, I want to get approached, etc. But when you're standing with 3, 4, 5 of your girlfriends and asking a guy to come and approach you specifically in that group, to him, you just look like a pack of wolves. Most guys are not going to do that.
Yeah.
So what I say you should do is separate yourself from the group, right? So maybe you go to the other side of the bar to order a drink where you're by yourself, right? Or maybe, you walk to the cloakroom, and then from there you then go to the bar, because this is where girls find most guys approach them when they're like on their way to the toilet a lot of the time, and that's because that's the only opportunity that she's given any guys to actually come and say anything if the guy has the confidence to. So give him the opportunity to approach you. Now, if he finds you attractive, you've sent him those choosing signals, right? And you give him the opportunity. If he's a confident masculine man who is available, he will come up to you. And if he doesn't, it's either because he's not available, or, well, maybe usually it's because he's not available.
Yeah.
But if you sent those signals and you give that space,
you're giving that chance for him to actually do it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually such a good way, because obviously there's a lot of people, I mean, myself included, but that way sounds a lot better. I'm such a person, I'm like, if I find someone attractive in a bar, I would personally approach them.
That's great.
But I think what you said there, like giving the little signals here and there, that's a lot better, because I think I do it way too quick. As in, I'll see someone there. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll have to like maybe a few drinks.
Yeah.
But I'll just go over and I'll approach them like instantly. But I don't know whether it'd be better to do what you're saying, like give signals and wait for them to approach me.
So what I would say, if you can do that, where you can have the confidence to initiate engagement, keep doing that. For sure. One, sometimes girls think they're sending signals and guys are not picking up on it, because guys, we communicate very directly.
Yeah.
Girls communicate very indirectly a lot of the time. So like as guys, if we, I don't know, okay, I'll give you this example. It's a harsh example. If I'm getting ready to go out with a couple of my friends, and let's say one of our friends, he's wearing a shirt that's a bit too tight and he's about to bust open, be like, bro, like your shirt is too tight. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like you'll make yourself look like 5 stone overweight. Like go change. As a girl, you're not going to say that to your girlfriend. What you'll say, you'll be like, oh, babe, I love that dress, but I have another dress that is going to suit you way better.
Yeah, you do it so much more subtly than like so direct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's the same thing with like, sometimes some guys generally don't know how to say no, and that's wrong. But it's the same as when a guy's like maybe trying to talk to you, and maybe you're indirectly communicating that you're not interested. So like your body angle's away from him, you're not asking him questions, you're not engaging in the conversation, right? But for him, he's thinking, oh, well, she's not told me no, so that's a green light.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you've not directly said no.
Exactly. So the reason I say look, smile, and wave is because you need to know how to speak to him in his language and be a bit more direct. It's going to feel a lot for you, but it's going to feel very small for him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. And I feel like that's a good piece of advice to know, like how to navigate your night out the next time if you want to do that.
Yeah.
So then say you get talking and you exchange numbers, like you said earlier, first piece of advice, if he was like, oh yeah, do you want to come back to mine tonight? You should say no straight away.
Yeah. So what I would say is, if he's trying to get you to come back to his, I would say a great response is, as tempting as that is, I'm just not that kind of girl. I would really love to get to know a little bit before, we potentially go there with each other. And it's not because it's not tempting, but it's just because
It's like you're still showing interest in him,
that's exactly
but you're not giving it to him that easily.
That's right. Because the thing is, guys are trying to figure out whether you like them or not. So he would really appreciate you going, as tempting as that is, I would really love to get to know you first. Because he's like, okay, cool. She's just not that kind of girl, but she's interested. That's a massive green flag for him.
Then you start getting talking, right? One of the things I hate the most is you're in that talking stage. The first couple of days, oh my God, so obsessed with each other, sending so many messages to each other.
Yep.
And then it would be like, oh, maybe they won't reply for a lot longer than they did yesterday. Do I do the same back to him? Do I not reply for as long? Or do I just reply straight away? Because I hate playing games like that. There's two sides to me. It's like, look, if he hasn't replied to me for a whole day, I'm going to reply when I actually have time because I can't be bothered to play games. That's just not a bit of me. But then also, I don't want him to think I'm being too keen replying to him straight away when he's not. Like, I always never know what the right answer is.
So I would say initially, messaging should ideally only be kept to arranging plans, not getting to know each other. Because and that's not saying you can't obviously get to know each other over texting, but if you're going to use that to get to know each other and you already know that you're interested, you miss a lot of the initial discovery connection that you have with someone when you're actually interacting with them. So like, for example, like, before we even started, you were telling me about, with your brain tumor and that whole situation. And actually that kind of flow it kind of creates more of a rapport, more of a connection, more comfortability, as opposed to doing it over message. So in the initial stage, like, not saying you shouldn't talk, but keep it light. Don't talk about the deep things about who you are, who he is. It should be about arranging the next time you're going to meet and have those conversations in person. Because I think what happens is that when you step into the pen pal territory, which is talking all the time and stuff, because the truth is, not all the time, but a lot of the time when a guy is like talking and messaging a girl, he's doing it because he's interested, not because he just wants to talk to her, right? So like, girls will meet up with each other just to talk. Guys don't do that. Like, if we're meeting up, it's because we'll chat, but it's like we're doing something. Maybe we're playing football or watching a game or doing bowling or something, and we'll chat, right? Or we're playing video games and then we'll chat, right? But we don't just meet up just to chat.
Yeah, I'm literally meeting my friend tomorrow morning just for a coffee, just to like catch up.
Yeah, no, we don't do that.
Yeah.
So like, a couple, one of my one person's become a very close friend of mine. He's an entrepreneur as well, like owns his own business, etc. And we became friends through like being business partners. But when we catch up, like when we meet up and stuff, we'll be doing a workout together and chatting, or we'll be going to a networking event, or like, for example, there's this event that I'm hosting he's going to come to, or like talking about investing. So when guys meet up, there's an activity we're doing, right? So it's something, I can't remember what study this is, but they say women bond face to face, but men bond shoulder to shoulder. So you'll sit down, have a chat. This is how you bond with your friend. As guys, we'll be watching the game. We'll be like, oh yeah, man, how's things with your girlfriend? Oh man, yeah, she really said something the other day, which I just didn't understand why she said that, and it just made me feel a type of way about it. It's like, oh, that sucks. Oh yeah, no, did you see that shot? Yeah.
And then I've completely gone something else.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just generally that men in general just tend to bond differently. So when he's talking to you, not that he doesn't want to talk to you, but that level of frequency, he's doing that because he's trying to appease you, not because he actually wants to do that. Which is why I'm saying it's best to keep, at least initially, those conversations in person.
Yeah, and keep them quite ducked up. Because I think that is so true. Because when I speak to someone, you start speaking about so much over text, and then like on WhatsApp, you get those replies where you're sending like 10 messages at a go because you're speaking about so many different things at once. And then I see from that's like not for me personally, but for guys, I feel like they see that as a task. Like, oh, I've got to reply to all of that.
It's
and I
true.
feel like this is kind of where ghosting stems from, because if they're not doing it because they actually want to talk to you because they enjoy that, they're just doing it to please you and get what they want out of you.
Yes.
That's why they end up ghosting, because they're actually just not, once they've got what they've got,
text
anymore.
Yeah, it's very much, how can I put this? Like, him messaging a lot, like, you're right, when he sees that long message and you're having 2 or 3 conversations and topics, he does look at that and be like, oh, that's a task that I need to respond to. And then he'll be like, okay, I'll do that, but I'm going to get to it later. And then maybe he forgets to get to it. Or maybe he like just got in, had a long day, and he's like, all he wants to do is watch Breaking Bad and go to bed. And he's like, oh, I'll come to that later. So then you don't hear from him the following morning. And sometimes it can happen where the length of his response time isn't because he's less interested, but just because the threshold to respond has just become a lot higher because of the length of text and the intensity of the messaging. Whereas it feels like, hey, looking forward to, grabbing some dinner and playing bowling with you this weekend. He'll be like, okay, cool. And then maybe you send him like a voice note, the day before, being like, hey, hope you're having a good Friday. I saw this, just reminded me of, when we met at that cafe. Looking forward to tomorrow. He'll send you a voice note back, and then you meet for that date, and then you actually converse and actually have that in person. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But here's what I say. You don't invest in someone based on how much you like them. You invest in them based on how much they invest in you. So, for example, like, if we're dating, right? Imagine a bridge, and in the middle of the bridge is the relationship.
Yeah.
I take one step, then you take one step. I take 2 steps, then you take 2 steps. If you take a step, I take a step. If you take 2 steps and I don't take a step, you don't move. You don't message again. You don't try and plan a date, etc. Because you're looking for that reciprocation. That's how relationships are built. Because then what can happen is people go, oh, we're getting so close to the middle. I'm so excited. I've taken 2 steps. He's not taking any steps. I'm going to take another 3. It's like he then takes 1. Okay, cool. I'm going to take 4. If I take 4, he'll take 2. And then that's when it feels like you're chasing him.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
So it's about looking for that reciprocation. So if, for example, you're messaging a guy and then I don't want to be like, okay, if he takes like a day to respond, then you take a whole day too. But if you notice that his energy of investment to you seems a little bit lower, then match that. Now, you may respond that day, but then, maybe it's your energy isn't as poured into it as it was before, right? And I know that can be hard because when we like someone, we're like, we really want it to continue to go in a direction. But at the end of the day, we, especially early on, there can be a reason why he's not investing as much. Maybe he's not as interested, but maybe something else is going on, right? And the last thing we want to do is try and put demands on someone and they tell us like, yeah, it's because my dad was in an accident. You're like, oh shit, I'm so sorry. Like, you seem really demanding at that point. Do you know what I mean? So invest in him based on how much he invests in you. The role, as a woman, the role of the woman is to be open and receptive, right? So be receptive. Like when he does text you, respond. When he does take you out, be like, oh, I appreciate it. Show gratitude. Guys really love that. They really look for that. But then if you feel him start to distance himself a little bit, he's telling you something by doing that. He's either saying this isn't a priority for me, or I'm just not that interested. And if you're going to build a relationship, none of those things can be the case.
We put all of our feelings into this new person and the way we react to certain situations based on what we've had in the past.
Yes.
Which is shit, and it's awful because it's horrible when you're going into a next relationship and you've been treated shit by a man before.
Of course.
You're then going to put that onto the new guy, and then they're going to take a step back, be like, whoa, I don't need that.
Yeah.
And it's just like finding that barrier, like how do you stop doing that?
Yeah. So I think one thing sometimes I think women can easily fall into that we just have to be aware of is you can be dating a guy, you can think he's amazing after the first 2-3 weeks, and you go, I know I want him. You don't. You're projecting. What you've done is all the things you don't know about him, right? You have subconsciously answered those as the best case scenario. So you think you want him, but after 3 weeks, you actually don't know a person. Not really.
That's so true.
You don't know them.
Because I feel like when you're speaking to someone, say you see a few good things about them, you're presuming the rest of them is good as well. So then you do get into that like, oh my God, yeah, this is going to be my future boyfriend, like telling the girls, oh my God, I'm like obsessed. And then it ends up not being that way and you think, oh my God, why have I done this again? Yeah.
And it's not denying that, okay, what I've seen so far are these great qualities, which is cool. I like that. But you still don't really know him. You don't know if you want to be with him for a relationship.
So you basically need to give it more time before you start overthinking it and cutting it off.
Before you're getting excited, for sure, you have to. Because I mean, like, everyone puts their best foot forward when they're dating, but then 3-4 months in, you might see sides to him that you're like, oh, you've already thought it was something else, and now you're seeing this, and you're like, what is this? And guys do it too. just because a girl was super gorgeous or really attractive, and he finds her super attractive, he's like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's her, she's the one. I'm like, bro, you don't know her.
Yeah, there's more than that.
You don't know who she is.
Yeah.
You're just projecting your fantasy onto her, and that's not fair to her. Because now you've built up this expectation of her subconsciously that she's not even aware of. And so when she doesn't meet that, you then look at her sideways.
But she doesn't know that you're thinking like that.
And it's the same thing for girls. He has no idea these subconscious expectations, fantasy that you've built around him. So it's just about being aware, like, okay, I appreciate what I'm seeing so far, but let's see what he does next.
Yeah. Wow. Honestly, I feel like this has opened up a whole new side of my
Great.
brain. It's
Here
so
we go.
good. And I've got questions from listeners as well
Go for
that
it.
they want
Yeah,
answered.
let's go through it.
So I think a lot of them are related to their situations that they're in, and they kind of just want a piece of advice how to navigate through it. So I'll read them out. I think there's about 6 or 7.
Go for it.
So the first one: why do men make plans with you for the future, talk about marrying you, moving you in, putting you on their car insurance, then a few days later, so they aren't ready for commitment? It baffles me every time.
Yes. So what I would say is sometimes, okay, women fall in love with their ears, men fall in love with their eyes. That's why women wear makeup and men tell lies.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
So sometimes a guy can be saying the right things because he knows that's what she wants to hear, but ultimately actions always speak louder than words. So if he's talking about moving you in, having a future together, but he's not even open to establishing some level of commitment or relationship, that's what his actions are actually showing what his intentions are, at least at that point in time. Or it can happen, which I think this is less so, but it can happen, where, you know, because sometimes guys can date a girl, get to know her and be like, oh yeah, she seems really cool. And then on month 3, he kind of realizes she's great, but she's actually not a right match for me. And so maybe it's like he was intentional, but then that doesn't necessarily mean that you guys are a right match. Does that make sense? So yeah, that's what I would say. Or it could be he sees you as like future wife material, but he's not ready to stop playing the field, which can be a thing.
Yeah, because I feel like sometimes men get cold feet. They get close to that point and they get scared.
Can happen. So what I would say is that if you've been dating and, you know, you've added value to his life where he's seeing you as future potential, etc., you do have to make him make a decision at a certain point. Because if you don't, he won't.
But how do you navigate that? Like, how do you get him to make that decision without sounding like you're being too needy, like, I need a decision?
Sure. So what I would say is there's something that I call the window of opportunity, which is where it's the window in which it more or less determines whether it's going to become like a full-on relationship or whether it's just going to be casual and situationship. And that window is generally anywhere between, I'd say, between 6 to 10 weeks from when you start being regularly intimate with each other. And in this window, and the reason I say the window is there is because it's kind of like, do you know Mr. Pretzel? You know those pretzels, or like, you know when, like, for example, when
the ones that you get in shopping centres when you walk past them, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, so like they have like samples.
Yeah.
Okay.
The cinnamon ones are well nice.
Yeah, they're so good. They're my favourite ones. Cinnamon, sugar. I'm like, but their price has gone up like the past few years. It used to be £3 when they started. It's now $4.95.
That's nuts.
Like, what's going on, guys?
Crazy.
So what happens with that is we walk past, we take a sample, we go, oh, I really like that. And if we're really cheeky, we'll walk past and get another sample, right? And if we're really cheeky, we'll try and walk past and get another sample. Now, usually what happens, the 3rd or 4th time, they'll be like, I'm really sorry, now you have to buy one.
Yeah.
Right? That's the window. Because here's the thing, if they do it too late, where you've gone around 6, 7, 8 samples, that's equivalent to like a whole free bagel, pretzel anyway. So when you come for the 9th time, they're like, really sorry, but you have to buy one. You can be like, I kind of had my fill, so I'm good.
Oh my God, that is such a good way of looking at it.
But then if you like, they have samples and they're like, hey, can I get a sample? Like, no, you have to buy one before you get a sample.
You have to actually make them
If they'll
make
be like,
that decision.
why would I do that? So you want to, and this is why I say from being regularly intimate, because obviously we know that's the initial driver for guys. You guys have had enough intimacy that he knows he likes it with you, but he still wants more. So then you have that conversation. Now, a lot of the time, a lot of women will go, so what are we? They'll ask the question, what are we, chat?
Yeah.
You don't ask that question because you give him all the agency to decide what it is.
Yeah.
So what you say is, hey, I'm really enjoying the way this is going. Like, I really enjoy spending time with you. But it's got to that point now for me, for us to move forward, I need to know that we're exclusive. Now, if you're not ready for that, that's absolutely fine. But then I'm going to have to take a step back from this.
Yeah, so you're not just basically giving him like the ball to put in his court and be like, oh, it's your decision, you make it, like
No.
whatever.
What you're doing is you're setting a standard for moving forward. And it's really important to be like, you know, you're not asking him a question. You're saying, look, it's got to the point, I need to know we're exclusive if we're going to continue. But you saying, look, it's okay if you're not, but I am going to take a step back from this. And what that step back looks like is not necessarily you have to stop spending time with him, but you should definitely stop sleeping with him.
Yeah, I feel like that's such a good way to do it, because it's not like you're putting him in that position, like you said, where you're letting him make the decision. You're making a statement, which I think also will look good to him, because it shows that you're confident in what you're saying and what you want, rather than allowing him to be the one to decide what the two of you are.
100%. But also, if I'm going to be honest, like, imagine he's a guy, let's say he is dating 3 or 4 girls. Most girls don't do that. So the one girl who does do that, he's going to go, that's wife material.
So sometimes when we think we're acting too keen, you're not necessarily all the time, if you're doing it at the right stage of the relationship.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of fear that we have, is we think we're acting too keen. So we'd get scared. That's why we'd get like this girl has gotten to this position where he's promised her so much stuff, but she's probably been too scared to say too early.
Yes.
Oh, like, are we going to be something? So she's held back, and now it's got to this point, and he's not made that decision, but she's got a lot of feelings in there because she was too scared to actually make it something.
Yeah. And I understand, if you've been dating a guy for 2 or 3 months, I understand it could be hard to walk away or to stop being physically intimate with him. But that's what you've got to do as a woman.
Yeah.
Because remember, as a woman, you're the gatekeeper for physical intimacy. So he had to do the right things to get to a point that you guys are intimate. There'll be things that he wished he could do without, but he did it because he was interested. This is the same thing. You have to be able to do the right things in order to get the commitment that you want, because men are the gatekeepers for commitment. And this is the one of the ways that you do it. You don't ask him, what are we? You say, for us to move forward, this is what I need.
So advice to this listener that sent it in, you think they should...
She should have that conversation, yeah.
Yeah.
She'd be like, because it sounds, if they're at this point, it sounds like they've been dating for at least some period of time.
Yeah,
as opposed to just like a week or two.
Yeah.
She used to have the conversation and say, this is what I need moving forward. And you're not asking him to be your boyfriend. You're just asking for being exclusive. But that's actually a really good trick for you, because I'll be honest, the step, if he's exclusive to you, he's basically your boyfriend, just without the title.
Yeah.
That's what you should think about. A lot of girls think about the label.
Yeah.
Label is not important. It's about, is he exclusive to you? The step from just dating to exclusive is huge.
Yeah.
But the step from exclusive to like label is this big.
I feel like it's basically the same thing.
It's basically the same thing.
Label.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, next one.
Yeah, I'll go for it.
I can't flirt. I need help. Please give some advice.
I'm assuming this is a woman.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna say 2 things. I don't want to overload. First thing I would say is be confident in initiating physical contact. So hand on top of his arm, hand on his chest, hand on his thigh, right? Those are the flirt areas. Compliment him, but don't be afraid to jokingly insult him. This is something bad girls are really good at, and that's why they're really good at building tension with men, because they know how to compliment a man's masculine. Like, I feel really safe with you. You know, oh, you look so strong, or you know, you're so confident. But also they'll be like, oh, I saw you wore those shoes the other week. Are those the only pair of shoes you have?
Yeah.
He'll be like, whoa, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're being playful, you're being teasing. You're teasing, right?
And
that's
enjoy
building
that.
tension.
Yeah.
And it's like a light-hearted joke, you know,
Yeah.
being able to poke at them, as opposed to like, I don't know, you're only 5'10", what the hell, bro? Like, you don't say that.
That's too deep.
That's too deep. Don't joke about something he can't change, right? But yeah, joking, like, know how to give him compliment his masculine. Guys love that. But also jokingly insult him. And that builds tension.
Yeah. So whoever wrote that, do that on your next night out.
You got it.
Why do guys tend to ghost after things have been going so well and then return 2 months later?
Well, it seems that it's going well to you. But if it was going really well to him, then it wouldn't have happened. Right? But namely because if you were if he wasn't investing in you emotionally, i.e. all of the time you spend together, you were just being physically intimate, that means you were investing, but he wasn't. So from month 2, he doesn't like you any more than week 1, right? If all you've been doing is being intimate with each other.
Yeah.
So the reason he goes is because he's not taking it seriously. And the reason he comes back is because he wants to see if you're still sexually available to him.
So it's just that it's not any deeper than that. Like he thinks, oh no, I've actually missed her. Like I really like her. He's not thinking that at all.
Not necessarily, no. He might. Here's the thing. He can like you, but that doesn't mean he's choosing you.
Yeah.
There's a difference between wanting you and choosing you.
Yeah.
Wanting is, I want you here right now for the moment. Choosing is, I see my future with you and I'm making actions that are putting in a foundation for us to have that relationship.
So do you think this girl that's been through this, do you think she should give her energy to him to reply or not?
So here's what I would say, because if he comes back, he may be open to something serious, but he may not be. So first, I'll say 3 things you're not going to do. You're not going to respond to him like that day. You don't want to seem too available.
Yeah.
So I'd say just give it 24 hours and you'll get over the, oh, he messaged me back, etc. So it lets your nerves and your feelings calm. Second thing you're not going to do is you're not going to enter a space with him where sex can happen. That's how you got in this position in the first place. And the third thing, a good response I would say is, hey stranger, I almost forgot about you. Sure, I'm free for a catch up, but lunch is on you.
Yeah, that's good.
Right. And the thing about that response, why I really love that and I kind of crafted that was because, and it really works, is because 1, you've said, hey stranger, I almost forgotten about you. You're like, your life doesn't revolve around him, right? You've got a life, you've been doing your own thing. Second thing, sorry, I've forgotten about you. Yeah, we can catch up, but lunch is on you. You're saying, yeah, you're open to catching up. So you're being receptive. That's what you want to do as a woman. You want to be receptive. But you're saying lunch is on you. So first, we're having lunch, not dinner.
And you've made that decision. Right? Yeah.
So you're going to be meeting where sex is off the table. But also lunch is on you. You're going to have to make some level of tangible investment for this to move forward somewhere. Like you're open to it, but this is what you need from him. So that's what I would say to that.
That's such a good way to do it, yeah. Because it's like you're saying that, it's like your intentions are subtly coming through that message without being too like either making him make a decision like, oh, what, you're going to take me out for lunch? Like you're saying, no, we're going for lunch and it's on you. Like I feel like that's such a better way to approach it than kind of wait for his decision what it is.
Yeah, and this is inviting him to pursue you. So if you're like, yeah, I'm open to catching up, but lunch is on you.
Yeah.
If he's open to something serious, he'll be like, okay, cool, let's have lunch this Sunday, leave it with me.
But if he wasn't, he obviously wouldn't give that reply, and then I think you kind of know from there.
There you go.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. Okay, this is one. We were speaking for about 6 weeks and only recently went on a date due to Christmas, etc. He said he had so much fun and wants to see me again and is very much flirty but hasn't suggested another date. I've asked him what he's doing at the weekend, etc. but nothing. What do I do? I feel like this is sort of similar to...
Yeah. A lot of the time, guys feel very responsible for women's emotions. Which they shouldn't, because we're each responsible for our own emotions, right? But a lot of the time, it's very easy for guys to be painted as the villain in any like dating story or anything to do with a woman. So this is why, like, for example, like, it's like, this is why the one night stand ghosts. Because it's like, oh, well, we had an amazing night together. He was so lovely to me in the morning. Like, he didn't even rush me out. We had breakfast and everything. He said he'll call me and I haven't heard from him. And it's like, guys would rather be the amazing guy who never called than the guy who was just like, yeah, this was just a hookup, have a nice life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he'd rather be the great guy who just never called than opposed to the guy who just... Because even if a guy just says... If a girl really likes a guy, and even if she says to her, like, hey, like, it was nice meeting you, but I'm not really feeling this. Because of how that can make some girls feel, how she can tell that story can still really paint him in a bad light, but he didn't actually do anything wrong.
Yeah.
So guys are really conscious of this. So they would rather be great with you in person and then just not follow up than give you any reason to like badmouth him because, you know, he said to your face, like I've heard some guys be like, well, you know, you could at least texted me instead of saying it to my face. And it's like, well, guys would be like, well, you know, it's like he can't win, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if he does it over text, she could be like, well, he didn't even say it to my face. What a coward.
Yeah, it's like either way it happens, it's going to be like, it should have been the other way.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's always a way that a guy can be interpreted to be the villain, even if it doesn't do anything wrong. Some guys do some stuff, toxic stuff for sure, but some guys don't, but they're still painted that way. And guys are very conscious of this. So they'd rather come across as amazing and they're just not cool. But if he's not calling, he's not interested.
And that's that.
Yeah.
And there'll be a better person that will come along that will actually be interested.
Yeah, you want to choose someone who wants to choose you. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, this one. I've been single for 5 years and I haven't met anyone. I consider myself attractive, confident, and someone with strong morals. My mum says I seem like I'm having a great time when I'm out with friends, and that I might come across as intimidating. Is that the case?
So I'd have to know more about this person, but okay, I'm just going to go from cases that I've seen. So if you're a woman, if you're very attractive, you're very confident, but guys aren't asking you out, it's usually one of two things. Either A, you come across as quite masculine, you come across as a lot. And for a lot of guys, yeah, they might sleep with you, but it may not be the energy they're looking for. Or if you're attractive, it means guys want to approach you, but maybe she's not giving them the opportunity to. Maybe she's not sending those signals, you know, like the kind of guy that you want. Because thing is, I know there's this whole thing of guys are intimidated by, you know, like strong women. And there's a small percentage of guys, but it's generally not that. It's the guys that most women want, which is like the masculine, successful, ambitious, confident, intelligent. It just comes across as quite masculine. And they're already masculine. So they're looking for their complement, not their not like a business partner. Yeah. Business partner, yeah, 100%. We'll make this work.
Yeah.
But if I'm a man in my masculine and I bring that already, I'm looking for the woman who covers where I don't, which is the feminine, the warm, the nurturing, the, you know, the person who knows how to, you know, provide that space where I can be vulnerable, as opposed to the person who's demanding me to prove myself a lot of the time. Because the thing is, guys have to do a lot of their work up front. Like for them to be the kind of guy that women find attractive, because most guys really don't get any attention. Most guys really struggle.
Really?
Yeah, 100%. Most guys struggle. Most guys get zero attention. Because like if I ask you, out of 50 random guys that you see, like, you know, day to day online, you know, who maybe even talk to you, right? Old, young, fat, slim, all colors, creeds, and backgrounds. Out of 50 random guys, how many do you look at and you go, yeah, I like the look of vibe of you enough that I go on a date with you? Out of 50 for you?
Probably not that many.
Yeah, like 3, 4, maybe 5.
Yeah.
Most women are like that. Out of 50 random guys that they
there'd
may
be
come
no
across,
chance to be anywhere near 50, even half probably.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now most women are like that. But the caveat is that the same maybe 5 or 6 girls you would give a chance, the same 5 or 6 guys Jessica gives a chance, Sarah gives a chance, Bryony gives a chance. So you get a very small percentage of men who get a lot of the opportunity with women, and most guys really struggle. So if you're an attractive woman as a guy, yeah, that you see, etc., you have to know how to attract him to you, but also recognize that if he's one of those desirable guys, and if he has an abundance of options, then yeah, it's about, do you match the kind of energy that he's looking for that works? You know, because generally speaking, the kind of guys that women want, they're not intimidated by strong, independent women. They just not looking for that energy.
Yeah. So, but then the way that sounds, it's like if you're a strong, independent woman, you're not going to get the right person. So
what I would say is that for your career, that energy is going to help you succeed for sure. But bring a different side to yourself for your love life, for your dating life, 100%. And people are like, oh, but I can't do that. Yes, you can, because when you have a little baby girl, a little baby boy, you're soft, you're nurturing, you're kind. Even the most masculine, brute man is, you know, soft and tender with his 4-month-old daughter. So we all have, because we all have masculine and feminine in us.
Yeah.
But it's okay, if you're stepping to that masculine side of yourself that's helping you succeed in work, that's not going to serve you in your dating life. You have to be in touch with the other side of you and bring that, and that's going to attract what you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. That does. Yeah, I've never really seen it like that before. Crazy, but I feel like a lot of the dating life is, it sounds like majority of it, like women kind of have to change themselves to attract the guy. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, why isn't it a lot, like, I feel like we have to put a lot more effort into making it go right.
I promise you,
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what a lot of it sounds like.
I know it sounds that way, but I promise you, guys put in a lot of effort to attract the women they want. A lot.
But we don't see that as effort. We just see that as something that is just normal when it's
because
necessarily not.
So like the guy who's confident, successful, ambitious, attractive, intelligent. Do you think he was born that way? If he knows how to talk to women, do you think he was born that way? It took it took months and years for him to get to a point.
Yeah, 'cause he's got to be in that position. Yeah.
But like, and you and I were talking earlier about making content. People see the glitz and the glam. They don't see the journey. It's the same when you see that desirable, attractive guy. You're just seeing him now because now he's that guy.
Yeah, that's so true.
But you don't see the amount of women who rejected him. You don't see the amount of times his confidence was knocked. So a lot of the work guys have to do to become attractive to you, they do up front, which is why it seems, that's why it comes across. It's like, oh, well, why is it that I have to change my approach as the woman to get the guy? And it's like, he's already put a lot to even attract you in the first place. Because you even just said yourself, out of 50 guys, maybe 5 a chance.
That's so true.
Maybe.
Yeah.
He's already done all that work up front.
Yeah.
I promise you, most guys make it their second mission getting a PhD in women.
Really?
100%. The guys who get a lot of women, they have a PhD in women. They have studied you. They have tried different things.
And they know what works and what doesn't.
But here's the thing. Women are going in blind. And it's like, well, what I do is I give women a PhD in men so they know how to get what they want.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thanks for helping us all out.
100%.
Appreciate it. I always want more from him. Am I being too much?
It depends on what you want. Depends on what you want. Depends on what you want, what stage you're at.
Yeah.
If you feel like one of your needs aren't being met, just express to him, hey, this is something I would really appreciate from you. Is that something we can work on together? You know? And
yeah, I feel like the question is dependent on what it is that she wants more. But I guess if she's tried before and she's still not getting it, I feel like that is a clear sign that he's not interested.
Yeah, it depends. It depends on what it is that she wants. Do you know what I mean? And it depends on what stage they're at. It's a very vague question. It just depends. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, well, thanks for all of those. I feel like all that advice you've given us.
Yeah,
I mean, for
course.
me personally, I feel like that's just open. Like, it's like I've got a whole new view, and I'm like, why? I just didn't realize any of this stuff. Like when it's like I'm looking at it with a new pair of eyes. Completely, which is really good. Like that you're giving that advice that will make people actually, I think, see it from not just their own perspective, but see it from the guy's perspective as well. Which I think is a massive thing, which will be super helpful.
100%.
And if you, towards the end of the episode, I always ask if you were to give like a random task for any listeners to do this week, whether it's related to dating or not at all. Yeah. Is there anything you'd want to?
Yeah, I would say there's something I call flirting with the world, which is this really helps in engaging with new people, etc. So I would say compliment a stranger. You know, if you're picking up a coffee from Starbucks, be like, hey man, like I really love your hairstyle. Or like, hey girl, I really love your tattoos. Yeah. Just compliment a stranger. Be open to flirting with the world. Yeah. When you give that compliment, you see their reaction that makes them happy, and that reaction from them, where you can feel like the love and the happiness that then makes you internally happy. Very true. And you need to just kind of reciprocate that happiness. Yes. By doing that to random people, random things like that. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. That's really good. Yeah. And also, have you got a song suggestion for listeners to listen to next? What was it? It was, maybe I'm showing my age here. It's called Musical Genocide by Gregory Porter. Why do I recognise that name? Is he's like one of the biggest jazz singers like in the world. I love blues, I love jazz, and Musical Genocide is a beautiful song. So funky, it's so fun. Nice. Yeah, Musical Genocide. Oh, perfect. Okay, well I'll add that to the playlist as well, because I've got a playlist of all the guest different songs and everything like that. Love that. Go on. Love that. So honestly, this has gone on a lot longer than I thought, but it's just flown by. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, and I hope everyone that is listening now has got great advice. And if you want to follow him on Instagram, his Instagram is Stay Slick with Kit. Yeah, buddy. And he'll can help you even further. So yeah, thanks for listening everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye.